Hi everyone. Good morning. My name is Roshni, and we here for the session on nutritious veggies from the terrace garden. So Hemant, over to you. Can you start with it?
Okay. Thank you so much, Roshni. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So, Roshni, Sangya, Sachin, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And Roshni, thanks for a good introduction. So team, today the agenda is I have a small PowerPoint presentation. I'm an IT guy, right? So I work with PowerPoints all the time. And but the whole idea is I don't call myself as an expert in this field, but the whole idea is to share the experience that I have in terms of doing the terrace gardening. And then let me share the screen. Okay, let me know once you're able to see the screen, Roshni or Sangya.
Yeah, Hemant, we can see the screen.
Great. Okay. So the whole idea is I was talking to Sangya the other day, and then this month has been declared as a nutrition week, month rather, by our Prime Minister Modi. And then we said, why not we talk about what we can do to support this initiative? So I'm going to share my experiences. Now, terrace gardening or balcony gardening is nothing new. People have been practicing it for a long period of time. But the idea here is I'm going to share my experiences. There's nothing right or wrong. There are multiple ways to achieve the results. But whole of my focus has been try out different things, different experiments from time to time. And that's what I'm going to share. So please feel free to ask any question that you have, and I'll try and answer to the best of my knowledge. If I don't have any answer right now, I'll note it down and I'll get back to you. Okay, so once again, very good morning and warm welcome. Okay, so the journey it started for me around 13 years back. I have a passion for gardening as well as I love nature. So during college days and early days of my employment, I used to travel a lot into woods. Trekking was one of my favorite sport. And the way it started is almost 13 years back. One of my cousin gave me a small plant, which you can see on the uh, left-hand side. It's called a radanium plant, and then he gave me a small plant to start a hobby, and he knew my passion, and I actually nurtured it. I actually spent good amount of energy behind developing this plant. And on the right-hand side, you see this grown plant. Right? It's the same plant, right? 13 years back and today. So the whole idea is it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes efforts, and of course you need to have a hobby, right? You fail many times, but it's an incremental success that you get that keeps us going. So the whole idea of these kind of sessions, and I keep talking to many people, is we all work like a candle, right? Let's say if you want to drive any initiative or any activity, you don't have to be expert in everything, right? But if you have a fire within, you act as a candle and you start lighting the candle so that it becomes a moment. Okay, it becomes a big movement, and that's how the change happens. If you see the today's world, right, we have we have a need of looking into terrace gardening or balcony gardening in a serious way. If you all recall, when they talked about London Olympics, right? I still remember the news when they talked about London Olympics a year before that, or maybe more. Before that, all the citizens in London City started exploring if they can develop farmland on their terrace, on their rooftops, so that when guests come in, they don't have to really work, depend only on the agriculture crop. I think the amount what they could have produced may not be very significant, but the thought process or the initiative what they have taken is really uh, uh, something which is differentiating, right? So I seriously started this activity around 6 to 7 years back. Before that, I had a lot of travel. I couldn't devote time. So I seriously started thinking about this, and then around 6 or 7 years back, I started this activity. I started it as a hobby, a relaxation mechanism, and partly a self-reliance in terms of the vegetables that I use. One point I want to share with you all is, and it's my personal experience, right? All around us, we have plants. They keep communicating to us. We don't just realize it. And that's what Jagdish Chandra Bose said. And then I felt it. I had, as a part of IT, I had a very hectic schedules. And whenever I used to come late in the night, my schedule used to be 9 o'clock in the morning. I used to start my day. And when I'm back home, it could be anywhere between 11 in the night or 1 o'clock in the midnight, right? Very hectic days. But irrespective of what time I get in, I used to walk, have my food or have my coffee in the night, and then walk through my garden for at least in 15 minutes. One, it takes a good walk, and second, it gives you a good positive energy, because I used to touch the plants, I used to talk to them, right? People might think it's foolish, but believe me, it works as a fabulous relaxation mechanism to soothe, and then knowingly or unknowingly, you develop a bond with these plants. Okay, so before we get into the details, I just want to quickly check if I can request all of you to put into the chat box how many of you are already practicing a terrace garden or a balcony garden. If you're doing, say yes. If you're not doing, say no. Can you spend 20 seconds? Okay, one no. Okay. Okay, three no, one yes. Okay, Ravina is doing yes. Thank you, Ravina. Anurag, Sukanya, Abhinay, Komal, you're not doing. Okay. Okay. I don't know who is uh, iPhone garden. If you can put your name, then I can just use that name instead of iPhone. But small garden, yeah. Not terrace garden, but regular plants in balcony. Excellent. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. I'll go back to the presentation then. So if you look at the okay, Steve, I was just quickly looking at some data points, and okay, so if you quickly look at the Indian population, which has grown from around 45 crores in 1950 to 2020, is around 300% growth. I was looking at the data from overall rural and agriculture perspective. 1960, we had around 83% of rural population, and in 2019, it is 65. That means we can see a significant number has moved to urban areas. Employment also, if you can see that has moved from 63% in 1992 to 42% in 2019, which means employment in agriculture has reduced. So there are more people who have moved away from agriculture, which is not a good sign. And you can see the agriculture land has not changed much, right? 1971, it was around 59.8, and 2016, it's 60%. So although the land occupied is same, but the overall agriculture population the rural population has come down, and the overall employment in agriculture has come down. That may be because of automation or deploying the machinery. But overall, the number of produce that I was checking is not in line with the population that grow. Now that is a need of worry. And then I was just thinking what we can do as a part of squirrel contribution, right? So one of the alternative is to go for home garden. You may have a small area or a big area or a balcony. Doesn't matter, right? I don't have a very big area. I have only 100 square feet of terrace, right? 100 square feet is not a big area, but still I can do a lot of experiments. I know many friends who have small balconies, and one of my friend is very keen in terms of doing this. He doesn't have a balcony. He has a small house. It's one bedroom hall kitchen house, but he has extended the windows with a box grill, and he's actually producing in that box grill. which I think is commendable, right? So let's quickly look at the benefits that we get from a homegrown produce, right? It helps environment because we have nature-friendly produce. Okay, we don't use much chemicals, and I'll come to that soon. Okay, we whatever quantity we may talk about, but we produce our own quantity. We don't have to go to the market and buy it, right? So there is no packing involved, there is no transportation, there is no handling involved, which reduces a load in terms of pollution, society pollution. Okay, reduce chemical impact on the environment. On the personal side, we spend less money on fruits and vegetable buying, although the amount could be very less, but still it's a squirrel contribution. You get very fresh, healthy, and reliable produce, right? Which is the most important thing. I have spent my 25 years in Mumbai, and whenever I used to travel by local trains, and those people who stay in Mumbai or who have traveled to Mumbai, if they travel to the suburban train, they can see the fruits or vegetables, especially the leafy vegetables, grown on the side tracks, right? And you're not sure about the source of water or chemicals that gets into, and especially the vegetables, the water, chemical feed water that they get through, it gets sucked into the plants and then eat that eventually, right? So it's not a very healthy, or it's not at times fresh. So fresh, healthy is the another key that you get. And most important is produce what you like and harvest when you need. This is the biggest advantage, I would say. And just imagine a situation, and I do that all the time, right? When I prepare a tea in the morning or in the evening, I just go to my balcony or terrace garden. I pluck the ginger, the lemongrass, the basil or tulsi, and I just make the tea. Very fresh tea, right? I mean, just imagine the feeling that you're plucking from the tree and then just using it. So that's something which is a psychological benefit, but it's a nice feeling. On a society, I've seen that it helps bring the society together, right? A lot of active collaboration happens. So what we have done in our area is we have a group of friends who started like me, and then we meet on a regular basis. In Corona, we keep talking on phone, and we keep exchanging the product, we keep exchanging the seeds, we keep exchanging our experiments, we keep exchanging the plants and saplings from time to time. So you have a good variety and you have a good rotation of the plants. It develops the good society relationship, healthy relationship, and of course the green buildings. And the biggest advantage is energy efficiency. You get green roofs. In my house, especially in summer, the overall temperature of the terrace goes down because of this green cover. So that helps reduce the AC cover or cooler cover. Okay, and the most important that I have seen is zero green waste. Last 6 years, no single green waste or kitchen waste goes to corporation, right? Only dry waste goes. Entire zero green waste is recycled in my garden. Okay, so I just want to take a pause if anybody has any questions so far, else we can proceed. Roshni, any questions so far?
No. If anybody has any questions, I'm again requesting you. You can put it in the chat box and we will direct it to Hemant. Yeah, you
Okay,
can go ahead.
great, thank you. Okay, then, so team, what I'm going to do is, there is a lot of material about terrace, balcony gardening or roof type gardening on Google. Huge material. So I'm not going to get into the details of everything. What I'm going to touch upon is the factors that you just need to remember or you need to consider if you have a garden today or if you're starting afresh, right? So I'm going to touch upon the areas that would be very helpful to you. You can deep dive through Google, or you can get in touch with me offline, and then I can feed that information back to you. So let's quickly look at different types of farming. This is the very important aspect in today's world. Okay, we have chemical farming, we have organic farming, we have natural farming, and there is something called as hydroponic farming. I'm not going to talk about hydroponic today, but so typically a chemical farming has been our traditional way of doing a farming, wherein the artificial chemicals or fertilizers or pesticides are used as a part of farming process. The chemical-based fertilizers are to productivity of pesticides are used, chemical pesticides are used to control the pests. Organic farming is using organic material to provide food for the plants, which is organically produced, especially the vermicompost and the vermicompost or related based pesticides. And the third, which is evolving in last 10-15 years, this concept came very rapidly from Japan as a concept, but this is being in practice for a while. And India has adopted that largely in last 6 or 7 years. If you ever heard a name of Mr. Subhash Palekar, he's the one who has been advocating natural farming at a national level. Okay, he is also advising our central ministry, agriculture ministry, in terms of how do we natural farming. Now, many people get confused between organic farming and natural farming. So there is a subtle difference, and I will talk about what it is because it is important to understand. So my humble request to all of you is anybody who is practicing balcony farming or balcony gardening, avoid using artificial pesticides or artificial fertilizers in your pots because it adds on the chemicals. It totally spoils the soil. Plus, from a small pot, whatever produce you make, the chemical directly gets into your body. So I would encourage not to use that. Stop doing it. The disadvantage of not using chemical farming is your production quantity goes down, right? To an extent to start with. But I think it is worth it. Quality is more important than quantity is what I believe. And I've been practicing organic for a while, and now I moved to natural farming, and I see amazing results. We will see as we go along. Okay, so a very simple example of natural farming is we all go to forest, right? Nobody goes and supplies pesticides or fertilizers inside a forest. So what happens? The old plants, the old trees, by natural aging, they die, and that gets converted into fertilizer. Part of trees work as pesticides because some plants have pesticide uh, properties. Also, the third element which is important as part of farming is the pest or the insects that come through. And the insects have two types. One is good insect, one is bad insect. So there are good insects who help spreading the pollination process as well as it helps reducing the pest. So nature has developed its own pesticides and own pollination process. So I would recommend to go for natural farming. The big difference in organic farming is in organic farming, we produce fertilizers outside a process. So we make vermicompost or we make natural compost in a drum, in a bin, or in a container, and using vermiculture, and then that produce we give it to the plants. Research has proven over last few years that the vermicompost, although it is good, but it has a tendency to enrich it with heavy chemicals or heavy metals like cadmium, lead, because the way artificial vermicompost is produced by accelerating the process, those type of worms or earthworms have a tendency to produce lead and cadmium. Plus, it also generates a lot of methane, which adds to a greenhouse effect. There were experiments conducted, and then it has been proven that this process is also adding a detrimental value to the overall global warming. So people have started moving to the natural farming. Natural farming is what we do is the entire kitchen waste or the green foliage that we get through, we dump it on the soil and let soil move that into the fertilizers, right? So don't employ any artificial worms or culture to move into the pesticides or move into the fertilizer. So that's the biggest difference on the organic farming and natural farming. Okay, we'll quickly move on. How do we develop our garden, right? Simple rule. Let's say if you want to start your own terrace garden or balcony garden or window garden, if I may call it as, right? The first step that we need to decide is what is the purpose of this garden. Some people want garden as just a landscape to increase the beauty of your house. Some people want as a farming, and some people want as a combination of landscape and farming, right? So as a first step, you'll have to decide what you want to do. Accordingly, you can make decision, right? Now, how I did it, I made a decision. I want to go for farming, right? Exhibit or landscaping is not my purpose. I want to do my farming. So the first thing what we need to ensure is the garden, terrace garden where we are going to develop, either it's a terrace, balcony, or window, whatever you're doing, it should have a waterproof activity, right? If not, you get the waterproofing done to ensure that your structure does not get any damage. Then make a small terrace layout or a balcony layout in terms of how you want to plan the overall garden. Okay, put it on a piece of paper. That will help you when you actually execute it, right? Always start small. When I started 6 years back, I started with small 10 pots, just 10 pots with a very basic plantation. And then we go. We will see the type of plant that you can use as we go along. Okay. My focus was on vegetables, some type of flowers, fruits, very limited fruits, and exhibit plants, right? One of the big thing what I focused on is seed bank and seed reuse. So what I normally do is I bring vegetable seeds only one time, right? So let's say if you get a packet of spinach or fenugreek, I put it in a pot, right? Use the produce from that pot after as a part of harvesting, but I retain few plants as it is. Naturally, they will produce seeds. I harvest those seeds and then I plant them in the vegetables, flowers, and fruits. And we keep exchanging that within our friend circle. Some of the people have been writing to me on the Facebook, and I send them on through the post also in a small envelope. Okay, so whenever you do that, I think it's a good idea to start maintaining your seed bank, so your investment in buying more and more seeds comes down. Now, how do we really start? You can start doing a planting either in pots. The suggested way of using pots is preferably earthen pots, but earthen pots are expensive and very delicate. So you may choose some earthen pot, a combination of earthen, the cement concrete plant pots, as well as plastic pots. Nowadays, we are getting bags also, right? So you can use grow bags. Those are also good, very lightweight and not very expensive. The alternate way, if you have a bigger terrace, you can see the picture. You can make a layout on the terrace itself with a small brick. So what you can do is you can lay a plastic sheet, a thick plastic sheet on the terrace so that the water can flow. You can actually make the brick um, borders and then keep a provision so that water gets a drainage, and then make a pot kind of a structure. Okay, this is also very successful because you don't have to invest too much in the pots. Pots are expensive, right? Even if you go to buy a average size plastic pot, it's not less than 150 to 200 rupees, right? Even cement pot is 120. So if you space, I would recommend you go for this, right? A soil preparation, typically go for, you can buy either garden soil or if you have time, collect all the dry leaves and wet leaves from the area around your where you stay, uh, dry it, put it in a pot for 6 weeks as it is, and it will develop its own manure, right? So naturally, all the leaves, wet leaves, and the material over a period of time gets digested and gets converted into soil. But if you're starting fresh, I would recommend buy some soil, garden soil, mix it with dry leaves, some wet leaves. You get neem crush in the market, or you can buy neem leaves and a part of cookpeat. Typically, you can mix it into a garden soil, could be say 30%, dry leaves and wet leaves could be 30%, neem crush, cocoa peat could be 15%, right? Or 15-20%. And then add some cow dung fertilizer with that. Keep it for 2-3 days to settle down, and then you can start your planting. Okay. Most important is when you water the plants, after you put the plants, you'll have to water the plants in a sprinkle way, right? Avoid over watering. I always say that when people water, if plants thirsty, give them water, don't give them bath, right? Many people give them bath, and that actually creates problem for the plants, right? The health of the plant deteriorates. So give adequate water, just sprinkle water. Adequate sunlight should be there, at least minimum 3 to 4 hours average sunlight for a normal plant. If you're staying on the east side, which is good. If you're staying on the west side, that's fine. You can get west side evening sunlight. Right? But sunlight is must. There are few partial lights or dark light plants available which can keep in the home. But most of the vegetables and fruits will need sunlight because photosynthesis is the process by which they make. Fertilizers are to be used typically naturally available fertilizers. The cow dung and sorry, the cow dung is the most common one. Okay, so I will just take a pause. Roshni, if anybody has any question.
No, there are no questions posted as of now.
Okay, so maybe we want to take a pause and ask people if they have any questions.
Yeah, I think it's like mentioned to them that, and again, I'm reiterating that if you
Okay,
have any questions, you can just put it in the chat box. No problem.
perfect. Then I'll go ahead. Okay, so friends, but I just want to take a pause, like because it's a monologue, kind of a monologue, which I normally hit. So team, is it going okay? And just put it in the chat, or am I going too fast? Okay, Abhinay, thanks. Okay, Roshni, thanks.
A question,
Yeah,
Hemant, can you hear me?
I can.
There's a question from iPhone. Firstly, I'm requesting some whoever's iPhone, please change it to your name. And the question is, I get more grasshopper problems. Do you have any such problem that you're facing?
Yeah, so I don't get many grasshoppers. I get grasshopper at times, but it's natural that grasshoppers comes, and there is a treatment, natural treatment. You can use either neem spray, or there is something called a jivamrut, right? So jivamrut, I don't know if you've heard it, but I can talk about it. Jivamrut is basically made from cow dung, cow urine. It's a process in which cow urine, cow dung, jaggery, and the gram powder. It's mixed together, kept it for a week or so, and then it is spread on the plants, right? So that could be one. Neem spray could be another one, and there are a couple of more natural this thing. So I don't know if you can just tell your name who is logged on through iPhone, because it's not good to say iPhone, right? Can you
Yeah,
just
if
put it in the chat?
unmute, then you could talk. That is also okay, or you could just put it on the chat.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
Preeti.
Preeti. Okay, Preeti. Thanks for your question. So Preeti, so there are ways. If you just Google it, you can find the ways to get that. I don't get very common, but in some areas it is. It is, and it's a natural because if you have more kind of insects, or if they're hungry, it will just come and go. Okay, but or if you can just Roshni will has my details, or towards end of the presentation, I will give my details, and you can write to me. I'll give you more details.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So Abhinay has few questions about Okay, Abhinay will ask towards the end. Sure, Abhinay. Okay, then we will just proceed. Team, so I had a question for myself when I started 6 years back, right? Where should I start? And I just try to give you some easy, outcome based, simple vegetables to start with and very easy to use. So, spinach, fenugreek, red leaf, coriander, RV. These are the some simple ones, needs very less attention, and quick harvesting is what we can do. And most of the people eat these kind of vegetables, right? Spinach is used commonly, fenugreek is common, red leaf is very nutritious for health, coriander, of course, I don't have to talk about it, and RV. So, and the harvest is very quick, anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks, you start getting the produce. So, I would recommend you can buy these seeds in the market. You can go to any nursery or any shop, agri shop, and you can get these seeds. Now, fenugreek and coriander, I think most of the people will have in their kitchen, right? Fenugreek is something which you use as part of a spice, and so as coriander seeds, which we use as a part of spice. So you can just use those seeds. Normally, these kind of fenugreek and coriander, I would recommend soak in the water for at least 4 weeks, 4 hours, and then plant it. RV you can buy in vegetable market. You get RV roots. You can just buy it and then plant it, and then you can keep cutting the leaves over a period. You can either make vegetable recipe, or you can, after typically 3 months, you can pull out the RV roots and cook it. Okay, the next stage could be, once you're comfortable with this basic one, you can start experimenting more. It could be brinjal, ladyfinger, green chili, tomato, pink onion, market, and then just plant it. You can Google the how to plant it, right? Very simple. But any plantation, if those are dry seeds like fenugreek, coriander, I would recommend soak in water for 3-4 hours or 6 hours and then plant it. If these are packed, there are certain seeds which you don't have to soak, like brinjal, you don't have to soak. Chili, tomato, you don't have to do that, right? You can just plant it as it is. Um, so there's a simple trick if you don't want to go and buy the tomato seeds outside, right? Or chili seeds. Whatever tomato and chili you get from market, get the extra ripe ones from the market, cut it in slices, and then plant it. It will grow, right? That's what I normally do. I don't buy these seeds from market, right? I just, even brinjal, I get the extra ripe brinjal from market, cut it, and then I plant it. The next is ginger, tulsi, lemongrass. These are the three things which we use in our kitchen almost daily. Aloe vera is good for our health, and then turmeric. Right? These are very simple. Don't need much of an attention. And I would recommend, when you start with spinach and all that, start with ginger, tulsi, lemongrass. You can buy this in market as well. Next is once you have some experience, right? Maybe 6 months or a year, you can go for lettuce, cabbage, cauliflower, and I mean, variety of these leafy vegetables. Okay. Curry leaves is something you can buy from nursery, and then have one plant if you have a space, right? If you have a balcony, big balcony, you can do it, or a terrace, right? But curry leaves is very fresh, very nice for our health, right? So I would recommend that have at least one curry leaf plant in your house. Then next stage, you can go for a complex ones like beans, bitter gourd, bottle gourd, snake gourd, and so on and so forth, right? And of course, needless to say, flowers of your choice, because flowers bring two things. One is it attracts lots of butterflies and friend insects, which helps pollination, and it also acts as a greed crop or a trap crop. I'll talk about it. And of course, it's eye soothing to eyes. So I would recommend go for flowers. Okay, now typically I've given chart. This is available on Google. Just to show you a snapshot in terms of how the harvest duration looks, right? Each has a different harvest duration. So what you can do is, depending on how you want to do it, you can actually mix and match, and then plant it. So when I do the spinach or dill or ladyfinger plantation or tomato plantation, what I do in sectors, right? So I do one pot, and then I do second pot after 15 days, third pot after 15 days. So the way that it grows is every 2 weeks you have a harvesting from different pots, and things like spinach and fenugreek, you can reuse that crop. You can pluck the leaves, it will regrow. Same like spring onion, same like green garlic. Okay. Similarly, on this is the chart which I have taken from nurserylife.com. You'll see many charts like that on Google. Uh, the crop has to be rotated by season and by cycle, and you can check which crop to be used in which cycle. Most of the crops, I have seen that the crops grow 12 months. At least I have been able to grow most of the crops 12 months a year, round the clock. But the benefit is, if you go by these kind of charts, the productivity and the quality is good if you go by recommendation. But if you want to try an experiment, you can do it throughout the year. Okay. One is crop cycle by health, by season. Second is Ayurveda also gives a guidance in terms of what to eat when, right? Especially uh, monsoon is a season where our digestion power comes down drastically because of the nature. So in that case, the food content should be very simple, right? And then typically people advise not to go for onion, garlic, and heavy substances. In that case, you can decide how you want to plant it, right? So it's by crop cycle by season or by Ayurveda guidance is something what I follow. Most important is, when you do some plantation, don't just blindly do that, right? When I say blindly, go by complementing the crops or diverse crop or by rotation. So let's say in a pot, if you take a um, crop of say spinach, next time when you do it, don't do spinach again. Rotate the plant, right? Instead of spinach, you go for either a flower, say marigold, or go for tomato, or go for okra, or go for beans, right? So keep rotating, and there is a benefit. When you rotate a plant has a different properties, right? When we say diverse and complementary plantation, typically plants have two varieties. One is dicots and second is diots. Right? Dicots are typically the one which has two parts of the seeds, right? Any lentils. And monocots are typically the ones like uh, uh, millets kind of grains. Right now on balcony or terrace, we are not going to do millets, but other simple ones which are single ones, right? So do a rotation. What happens is, the way food is produced by plants, okay, uh, there are digester or insects which help produce the food, and those are basically helping nature to enrich the soil. So if you keep on doing one type of crop in a soil, it degenerates or it degenerates the capacity of the soil. Okay. So there are two types of bacteria. One is one is symbiotic and asymbiotic, right? Depending on the type of crop you choose, the bacteria live with the roots, and then it enriches the soil, right? If you go to Google, you'll find all these kind of information. There's something called as trap crops, right? Now, what is trap crop? When you plant anything, let's say if you plant tomato, right? The pest will come and pest will eat tomato plants, right? So your produce will be bad. Now, one is you can either use pesticides like neem or Jivamrut, which I just said, or cow urine to spray. Parallelly, you can plant another crop or another plant which is called as trap crop. Say, for example, if you have a tomato, you can use okra or dill or marigold as a trap crop. So the pests get attracted to these plants more than your crop. So if you have a tomato, say 5 plants, you can put one marigold or one okra. So the trap crop will attract all the insects and your main plant will remain, right? These are various techniques. Now, I have learned this through experimenting. I keep doing it, I fail, I redo it, and then I get success, right? So keep doing that all the time. And flower plant I talked about because flowers will attract a lot of butterflies and then insects which will do the pollination. Okay, so the benefits what I reap is, and then I always who are doing this today, or when you do that, you'll agree with me that you plant something when it starts blooming, when fruits take shape, or when the green vegetables flourish. That's where you get the most satisfaction, right? Just by seeing. And I think there's no comparison. So another part is self-reliance, right? For certain areas, especially when there was a lockdown of 4 months period, right? In my area, most of the things were shut. I live in Pune, right? Pune, most of the parts were shut. We didn't get vegetable almost for 6 weeks, and that's where this helped me, right? Terrace garden, I was self-sufficient to feed me and my family at least the basic food, right? We could make soups, we could make basic vegetable, and the base thing, right? So self-reliance to an effort, healthy and natural produce because you know where it comes from. As I said, 100% kitchen waste cycle and peace of mind and relaxation medium, right? It really works as a relaxation, believe me. Uh, the inner satisfaction and confidence which we all get, and it helps you to build a positive attitude. And I have felt that, I have experienced that. I'm sure you will do that, right? So what I've done is, just to give you a feel, I've been tracking this produce and putting into the statistical chart, right? Just to do analysis how it is moving. The amount is rupees is absolute very minimal, right? This is just rupees, like, so 2018, as you can see, the produce is around 1,500, 1,300 rupees over here. Money is not important. What is important is the way it is growing and the way it is helping an individual to see how it grows, right? And the satisfaction that view. And just imagine, right? So 2016, I had 13 rupees per square feet per year, right? And 108 rupees per month as a harvest. That means I have saved so much money. But if you see 2020, that has gone up to 272 per month, and just August, right? September, October, November, 4 months has to go. And you can see this has gone to 32.3, right, per square feet. So this is just an indication to show you how the results help you to do more and more and gives you self-satisfaction. Absolute money is not important. What is important is the own produce and satisfaction. Now, so this is where uh, I just finish touching upon the major point that I had. I will quickly show you some of the pictures from my garden. That's where I started and what I've done. And then we will pause for questions. Okay, so friends, once again, I want to reiterate that I've been doing a lot of experiments. My focus has been changing the crop all the time, right? So the only crop I maintain is spinach, fenugreek, coriander, tomato. These are the crops typically I maintain throughout the year. But other crops I keep trying. I like to do a lot of experiments and I learn from that. Okay, so you will see some leafy vegetables, red leaf and spinach. As I said, easy to use. These are cement pots. Okay, lemongrass. Okay, throughout the year it grows and it helps you. Okay, bitter leaf. Anybody who likes bitter leaf, very good for health. If you eat a bitter leaf after lunch or dinner, it helps you to purify your blood and detoxification. Then green sorrel, those who like sorrel, green sorrel, this is sour, and then coriander. Okay. Then next stage, some of the veggies which I tried. This is cauliflower. Now, friends, the good part is This time I tried to put a cauliflower seed in a very small pot. The pot was of this size. And I said, let me see what happens. Okay, and you can see the result. It grew in its full strength, but you can see the size of cauliflower, right? It's so small, equivalent to my index finger, very small. So the idea here is nature gives its best in the environment that you put it in, right? Taste did not change. Taste was exactly the same, but size was smaller, right? So this was a kind of experiment I just wanted to do to see how nature responds. These are brinjal, tomatoes, ladyfinger. You can see the size of ladyfinger. And these are small inches. Okay, I don't artificial fertilizers, pure cow dung. Okay, green chili. And this is something which I'm harvesting now. This is fennel. I tried it for the first time, and you can see the cycle. These are the flowers. These are the insects which are doing the pollination. And these are the green fennel seeds, and these are the actual ones which are harvested now. Beans, okay, red beans and capsicum. Okay, then some veggies, some more veggies. These are beans, potato. These are seeds, flowers of onion, spring onion. Okay, Loki or gourd, and then snake gourd. And broccoli. I've been doing broccoli for last 4 years now. Amazing outcome. I thought I can't do broccoli is something which is very difficult, but then I tried and it worked nicely. So now I bought broccoli for the first time. Now I don't go and buy seeds. I have used those seeds over last 4 years, right? I keep reharvesting the seeds. A pineapple, watermelon, banana. I was very successful. I grew banana for 3 years and the results were really good. Muskmelon, you can see, watermelon recently harvested. Dragon fruit, last month only I harvested the first set. Now we have some more. Okay, and then the flowers, bougainvillea. This is a variety of flowers, marigold, rose. I have around 8 types of rose varieties. This is the typical flower, which is called the duck flower. It comes in a duck shape, very rare to find. Okay, and then king of thorns, and then bleeding hearts. So these are some of pictures from my garden, and of course some of the garden visitors that I get. Uh, these are the picture butterfly, a moth, and then some are insects, some are not good. Caterpillars eat away your crop, but I retain it most of the time because I don't want to destroy the ecological balance, right? When these come in, there is a purpose because they grow into butterfly, and butterfly has a purpose. So I don't, most of the time I don't kill these caterpillars. I retain them. What I do is I don't touch those plants. I preserve those plants and let the nature do its job. Right? If it becomes really a menace, like it spreads everywhere, then you'll have to do something. But if it is on 1 or 2 plants, I separate out those plants and I just grow it. So I have just another minute also to talk about, and then we can pause. So there are 2 terms I want to live with you. One is SPNF and ZBNF, right? We have been talking about natural farming, organic farming, and then chemical farming, right? Now, Subhash Palekar has been driving this, and I attended this program in January, and I am in love with this concept, right? Since January, I have not gone to the market to buy a single fertilizer. Right? Earlier, I used to buy some natural fertilizers, but now it is 100% in-house, right? I used to do compost for 4 years. I've stopped composting now. Everything is recycled, right? So these are 2 things with natural farming and zero budget natural farming. You can read on Google, which believes in recycling the entire 100% amount that you get from the plants. So plant grows, then it dies, right? You have to recycle remains of the dead plant into useful fertilizer. Okay, and there is something called a Jivamrut, which I explained, Bijamrut, which is used to coat the seeds before you plant, and the way soil is treated, and then the way you cover the soil. I just want to leave with these pointers with you. I would encourage you to go and read on the Google, and sorry, I want you to read on the Google and then get more knowledge about it, right? And the last but not the least is eat healthy, nutritious, and reliable food. Reliable is the most important and keyword. And let's go green. Uh, at the right bottom, you see that beetle. I like beetle leaves, right? So I got all the ingredients for the beetle. I don't go to Pantapri anymore, right? I make it at home, and then I enjoy it, right? So, and on the left, these are my details. So I once again want to reiterate, I'm not an expert in this field, right? I've been experimenting, trying to do something, but I I want to work as a candle. I've been working as a candle to spread the light so that self-sufficiency, healthy and nutritious food becomes our movement. And then I'll be happy if you start small and then grow and then spread the message. So this is what I wanted to share in a small period. Thank you. I volunteer Sangya, Roshni, and Sachin for this opportunity. Friends, the details are at the left box. If anybody has any question, feel free to connect with me on Facebook, or you can write me. I'll be happy to come back to you. Thanks for your time and responding. Now, if you have any questions, we can talk about it or any feedback.
Yeah, first of all, Hemant,
Back to you.
thank you so much. It's really brilliant to see the kind of very concise PPT with all the correct and concise information, because, like you said, on the internet, there is so much that you like tend to get confused. And it was really brilliantly done. And I think the cherry on the cake was seeing your produce, so colorful, so beautiful, that you yourself want to do like a lot more. So it was great. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to look at you and see your journey, and see that it requires patience to grow anything. It's not like you planted it today and it's there tomorrow. Participants, we're open for questions. I'll just read out if there's any question that is there. So Komal says he has a question. So Komal,
Yeah.
if you could unmute and ask, that would be great.
Hi sir, good morning.
Hey, Komal.
So I have a new house coming up in Vasai. We are due to shift in hardly like a month. I was wondering if indoor plants are a good thing, because I'm not sure like in a new building if they'll allow outdoor plants, or for the balcony plants to be there, because it will damage the colors of the buildings and everything. So are indoor plants a good thing to have in the house? Like, are they as good as the outdoor ones?
Yeah. So good you ask that question, because most of the people who don't have a balcony or terrace will have this question. One question: do you have a small balcony or it's just no balcony?
No, sir. We have quite a few balconies. We have 3 to 4 balconies in the house, but I'm just concerned about the building allowing plants to be kept outside or not.
No. So what I'm saying is, don't keep outside, right? Let's say if you have a small balcony layout, right?
Okay.
What you can make small stands, right? You can make small iron grade stands,
Okay, sir.
or you can keep it on the balcony. So just put some bricks, and on top of that, you can put small plants. You don't have to go for a big. And
Okay.
small as spinach needs just this much height of pot, or go for bags, grow bags. Okay, bags are very light, and don't go for heavy soil. What you can do is you can use dry leaves, some cow dung fertilizer, and cocoa peat. Okay, you can buy a cocoa peat of 5 kgs of a cocoa peat brick for around 200 rupees in nursery.
Okay.
Mix it in 1:1, so 1:3 compound, right? Each one 30%. Mix it together and then apply less water, and then the weight is very less. Water just sprinkle, don't pour the water. And then if you put it on the balcony floor, I don't think then society will object. If you put it outside, like many people, what they do is put the grills and then they put the pond, right? Which will damage the color and elevation. I would say keep it inside and then start small. And if you have any questions, I mean, feel free to write to me. I can give you more details, send some pictures, or we can talk in detail as well. When actually you shift and if you need help in planning, I can do that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I'll surely get in touch with you once we shift.
More than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We also have a question from Harman, who's asking any small plants that we can grow in a pot, like in a small can or in a small space.
Yes, of course. See, remember one thing. To grow a plant, you need a medium. Now, what medium you use will depend on where you stay, what is your space. As I said earlier, if you have a big terrace, you can make a layout. If not, you have a small pots. If you come to my terrace, I have planted small plants. Now, in coconut shells, right? You break a coconut and you have small shells, right? So I have converted those shells into the pots. What I do is I have good number of shells like that, and I use those plants and shells to distribute, right? You can use small pots. You get this much size of pot, right? Say 4 inch, 6 inch. You can start with spinach. Spinach grows in those small plants. Coriander you can do. Tomato will grow in small 6 inch plant. Ladyfinger will grow in a pot of say 6 inch or 8 inch. And start small. Don't worry about the size, right? The nature needs a medium, not the size. And I showed you the cauliflower, right? Typical cauliflower is so big, but the cauliflower that I harvested was this much size, right? Because I had only small pot. So don't worry about it. Start small and then you can grow. I hope it helps.
Yeah, I hope it has helped you, Harman. If you have any question, you can again write on the chat box or reach out to Hemant sir directly. Hemant, Anurag has a question. He's saying, amazed to see your produce. I don't have too much direct sunlight. What can be done in such a case?
Okay, so Anurag, if you don't have a sunlight, I'm sure you'll have at least 1 or 2 hours of sunlight, right? In some direction. Because plants by nature produce food with a photosynthesis process, right? It happens in two ways. Sunlight is needed for two purposes, because leaves will use that sunlight to generate food using photosynthesis process. Plus sunlight and air, there are microbes in soil which will absorb that sunlight and use it to convert nitrogen into a form that roots can digest, right? So if you put all the plants in dark, some plants will survive which are meant for shadow, but not vegetables or fruits, right? So try and see where you can get at least 1 or 2 hours of early morning sunlight or late evening. It might be a window. That's okay. You can put the pots in a window or hang it some way. And in worst case, I tried one experiment last year is I tried to grow 1 or 2 plants in artificial lighting, right? Under the tube light or under the CFL bulb. You get some results, but those are not very encouraging, right? So try and see. I'm sure 1 or 2 hours you'll have, or if you have a terrace, not personalized terrace, but a common terrace, and if you can keep those small pots in a tray and carry those, keep it for an hour or two and bring it, that will also help. Because see, believe any plant grows in a natural way. It needs sunlight, it needs soil, it needs water, it needs air, and it needs cosmic energy, right? If you stop or reduce one element, the ecological balance gets disturbed. So it's important that we try and keep the balance. Vinay, I mean, try it
Anurag,
out.
yeah,
Sorry, Anurag, try it out and see how it helps you.
Yeah. He's mentioned that he's got it and he will try it out.
Sure.
There is another question. It's from Real Me. I am thinking that's not your real name. So if you could mention your real name, it would be great. So she or he has asked, when planted in pots, for example, banana, there is no spacing problem for the roots when it is grown in pots which is small, because it is in a tree category, right? Like that's the question.
Yeah. So banana doesn't need a depth, right? Banana grows horizontal. And typically when you grow a banana plant, it will have siblings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 siblings. What you'll have to do is, if you have a small space or small pot, when 2 or 3 siblings grow, you can just cut those siblings and replant in other pot, right? So even if you have a small depth pot, that is good enough, right? Banana is not a big tree like banyan tree or mango tree or any other tree, right? It just needs this much space for the roots to grow, and it's full of water, right? It's juicy. The entire plant is juicy, and that's what it feeds in. So I have grown banana in a small pot like this, and it worked, right? In fact, I have grown mango in a pot of 2 feet size, right? And I have harvested 1 year. Next year it died for some reason, so I'll start next year again. But try it out. It works. Banana doesn't need a big space, right? Only thing, it needs a lot of sunlight, good sunlight.
Yeah,
Does it help you, Abhinay?
yeah. I think that was not Abhinay. That was
Oh, sorry.
someone. I'm just waiting for a name.
Oh, that was real me.
So,
Real me.
yeah.
Okay.
Anurag Bindal, I'm assuming you have a question. No, I'm getting confused. I'm so sorry.
Roshni, sorry.
Vinay has a
Roshni,
question.
can I just interrupt? Sorry to.
Yeah, no problem. No
So,
problem.
so earlier we spoke about the light issue, right? My suggestion is,
Yeah.
people who are planting indoor, if they are experimenting, ensure that the water provided is very, very less, because most of the plant die because of excess water and not less water, right? It's okay to have plant thirst for a day or no water. Okay, because if you pour water, the soil will develop fungus, and then that will create problems for the plant, right? So give less water if it is indoor. Yeah, back to you, Roshni. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem at all. So we have Abhinay who's asking a question.
Yeah.
I have a balcony where we don't get much sunlight. I have multiple indoor plants which don't last long. Most of the plants catch white flies. I have also grown tomato in direct sunlight 4 times. Uh, just a minute. It grows to full and you also get
Yeah.
yellow flowers, but all the plants never give fruits. After which the plant dies. It starts blackening from the bottom stem and slowly dies. So two
Right.
questions
Yeah,
that
I
are
got
asked.
it. Yeah. Okay, thanks for this question. And then I'll take in 2 parts. One is, can grow in house, but those are typically exhibit plants. Vegetable plants, I've not seen many which grows inside, because it needs sunlight for the process. So try and see if you can. Let's say if you have a space limitation, try and rotate the plants, right? So you can keep some plants in sunlight, and after every week you keep rotating some plants in house, some plants outside, and keep rotating that way the plants will get a feed of sunlight periodically. That's one. Second thing is about tomato, which you said. Yeah, there are tomatoes. So most of the plants will have flowering which is either a male type or a female type, right? Some plants are called as pure male, where only male flower comes, especially bananas, papaya. Some plants have only females, which is banana, papaya, and some other plants. And some are hybrid, which are typically grows male and female, right? So in tomato, I have not seen, tomato is a typically hybrid plant, but the flowers that you get are male and female. And it's a cross pollination that happens due to insects or butterflies that fly through, or flies, house flies. They do the cross pollination with male and female flowers, and that's how you get the fruits. So if you have excess male and less female, the fruit will be low, and vice versa, right? So it depends on what kind of flowering it does, but it keeps on changing. The nature responds depending on the strength of the plant. If you are getting the tomato, which you said, right, goes black from the bottom when it grows, it could be because of two reasons. Either there is an excess calcium in the soil because of the way nutrients are produced. That could be the one. Second could be excess watering. So reduce the watering. I call it as a water shock therapy, right? And you all can try this. Let's say if a particular plant is healthy, but it's not producing the results you want, stop giving water for 2 or 3 days, right? don't allow the plant to die, but let plant be more thirsty. And I have experimented with two plants. Two were not producing results. One, I kept giving water. Second, I stopped giving water. The second started flowering. I read it on the Google also and did some research. I have not done it scientific research, but my personal belief is naturally when the plant gets a threat that I'm going to die because there is no proper feed, maybe it starts producing the crop. That's my theory. I might be wrong, but I call it as a water therapy, and it has worked. So try doing that. Another thing is, if the tomato is blackening, it could be because of excess calcium or excess water. Try reduce the water content. Don't give water for a day, or only sprinkle the water. Don't pour the water. And first thing what you should do, if it is black, just cut it and destroy it, so that that disease doesn't spread. And then next time it will be good. Another thing is, if you see a particular tomato plant which is not giving fruits at all, right? It's just giving flowers and there is no pollination. Just remove that plant and replant another one. Maybe it is not producing any female flowers. Another thing is, when you have these kind of flowers but nothing is happening, nothing is really giving you crops, try and see if you can get some red flower plants. Like it could be king of thorns, or marigold, or simple bougainville. The red, I have seen that if you have more red flowers, or orange color flowers, or yellow, attracted insects and butterflies are more, and that helps pollination. Now, these, I don't know if it is scientifically proven, but I have got results through experiments. So I'm just sharing my practical experience. Try do that. Abhinay, I don't know if it helps you, but that was a long answer to your question.
Yeah. So he's asked again, what can we do for white flies that come on the plants?
Okay,
that he had asked?
so white flies are typically different. When you say white fly is generic, either you get really flies, or you get small dots, which is called as millibug. Okay, and typically it comes on hibiscus flower. It doesn't go. Right? So you either can go spray a neem water. So what you can get is, you get neem very commonly, right? Get the neem leaves, soak it in water for 24 hours, filter the water, and then spray it. Another could be, you can buy cow urine and mix it with a little turmeric, and then filter it and then spray it. That could help. But hibiscus, when it is fully infected with millibug, you see white ants throughout the plant, then best is to remove that plant and replant, because it goes so deep. In that case, it gets up to the root that it spreads across. So if it is early stages, try these methods. If not, then remove it. Another way which I use, and I have not seen people using it commonly, but I use it and it's very effective for me, is you get raw tobacco in the market, right? Not the tobacco which you get in pawn shop, but you get a raw tobacco in market, which is mostly in the agri shops. You get agriculture shops. You can buy that agri powder, raw tobacco powder, and mix it in the soil before you plant the seeds. I have got good results that the disease rate has come down. So try that option also. Or you can put neem leaves or neem crush in the soil. That will help you. So Abhinav, my suggestion would be, if you're doing this experiment, and that's what I do, is I do 3 pots of the same nature with 3 different things, right? One is plain, doing nothing with neem, and second is the third one, and see how it grows. You yourself will realize what works best in your environment, because the environment keeps changing, the soil, the sunlight, the water, and the weather, especially the type of air, the pollution, and then you can decide how you want to proceed next.
Yeah.
Hope it helps, Abhinay. Yeah.
So he's like, he's saying thank you for your inputs. So I will follow your inputs, and he stays in Bangalore, so it's mostly cold.
Yeah, Bangalore is nice weather, so I'm sure it will be good.
Yeah. There's a question from Tilaga, and she's saying that I had a pot of mint that has grown well too. We plucked some leaves for the first time, and that started drying one by one after that, and there is nothing left now. Why so?
Okay, so first of all, plants like mint, basil, spinach, you have to keep plucking the leaves, because then only it will grow. If you retain the leaves, the plant will deteriorate, right? So what you did is right. Maybe when you actually started plucking the leaves, you might have disturbed the roots, right? Sometimes when you pull, it disturbs the roots, because mint is a very delicate plant, right? So when you pluck, just hold the stem and start plucking it. Or what you can do is just hold the stem and at a particular length, just cut it with the scissor, so that you don't disturb the roots. Cut it with the scissor, the stem will again grow. Okay. Uh, that could be one reason. Second could be, it could be just coincidence that you plug the leaves and then there was excess watering. Mint dies if there is excess water. Ensure that any pot you do, any type of plant, there has to be a proper drainage. The water retaining capacity should be very less, right? The water should flow through, and then only the plant will be healthy. So just ensure that there's a proper drainage, and then when you pluck, take care. Now another thing is, you don't have to worry. If you have stem like this in between, take out that stem, take out the leaves, and you can replant that stem. Good thing about mint is the stem will regrow. If you put it in water for 2 days, it will develop roots, or you can directly plant it. It will regrow. Many times what happens, mint grows, and when it becomes a big bunch, it outgrows itself, and that's where some roots start dying. What you can do is you can slowly remove part of the stems, part of the roots, and replant in another one. So give the space to grow for the original plant. So these are 3 4 ways you can uh, make your mint survive. Now if your plant has died now, and if you don't have a mint, you can buy mint from market. Just ensure that when you buy, it has thick stems. Remove all the leaves and then plant it. It will grow again. You don't need to buy from the nursery or shop. You can just buy from the market and use them. Hope it
Okay.
helps.
Yeah. He says thank you. What are she's saying thank you. What are all the plants that does not need crop rotation?
Crop rotation. Okay, my suggestion will be, I think we should do a crop rotation for all. So temporary crops like spinach, fenugreek, tomato, these are the plants which are planted regularly. So I would say rotation would help to enrich the soil. The plants which does not need rotation, because those are permanent plants like basil, mint, those can go, lemongrass, those can grow permanently. But other than that, I think these other plants should be rotated out. So basil, lemongrass, mint, and the bigger ones like if you have fruits, say banana or fig, those doesn't need a rotation, because those are bigger plants. You can't rotate; those remain. Flower doesn't need a rotation, typically, big flowers.
Okay, she has mentioned, she's saying thank you for your inputs. Anybody has any question, or should we just find out? So if you have any question, please put it on the chat box. I can also share Hemant's email ID where you can reach out to him, and he will be. Hemant, are you more than happy to answer their questions on email?
Oh yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, I want to work as a candle, right?
Yeah. So he's also put I will also send that through email. So thank you very much, Hemant. I'm actually surprised at so many different things that we can experiment and do, even if we don't have like a huge balcony and everything. And thank you all the participants for so actively being a part of it, and also asking all the relevant questions that you
Absolutely.
have and getting it sorted. So thank you all of you, my team, all the participants, as well as Hemant. A huge, huge thank you to you. And tomorrow we have another session which is being initiated by us. Sangya, would you want to say something about it?
Yeah, Roshni, thank you so much. So I would just say that we have World Rivers Day on fourth Sunday of the September, which is, so we are conducting a session tomorrow by Miss Aditi Deodhar. So she is one of the founders of our own heritage here in Pune. This it is called as Jeevit Nadi. So she is one of the founders of that. So she would be taking care of, she would be leading this session, and it's all about how we can conserve from our own ways leading into this session, and it's about the environment. So requesting you all to please join, register with us onto this session, and we would love to have you there. And it is again at 11 a.m. only tomorrow. So yeah.
So Sandhya, Roshni, well, if I can take another minute before we
Yes,
close
yes,
this, I want to
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you
definitely.
once
sure.
again for giving the opportunity and all the participants for questions and patiently hearing. Sachin, thank you so much for hosting live on Facebook. And my appeal to all the participants is, if you spread message to across another 10 people like this, I think then the movement will be really bigger. And even if you are able to grow small portion of kitchen vegetables for everyday purpose, I think the success of this entire sessions lies within it. I'll be more happy to hear your story as we go along. Feel free to ask me questions or write to me the successes that you reach so that I can learn more from you. And then we can form small community to exchange our ideas. So all the best to everybody who has joined the session and for the next success. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hemant, we're getting all thank yous from everybody. There's Sukanya, there's Anurag, and all of you, and everyone at iVolunteer, as well as the participants, is extending a thank you to you. So I will be sending an email out where you can reach out to Hemant, and if you want to attend tomorrow's session, you guys can, anybody can reach out to me. So are we good to go? Then thank you everybody for being a part of the session. We can end it now. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.